You're going to learn so much from this video and this setup that you're going to see that you don't even need Metasploit or even Kali Linux to employ some of the exploits that you're going to see here coming up. Root, and then my target machine's address. That's running. It's doing something. Oh, and you can see we are now root at Metasploitable. Some of you may be like, that's it? Like, that was it? Yeah, that was it. It was really that easy. This is about as easy as it gets. Let's go into temp root, okay? And we haven't put anything in here, right? But we mounted to Metasploitable's root file system. So that means we can see their entire file system and we can write to it also. If a username is sent that ends in the sequence happy face, happy face, the backdoored version will open a listening shell on port 6200. We're gonna make user, please subscribe, happy face. Specify the password, pass, no for real, subscribe. What's up, Code Crew? In this video, we are going to be creating our very own home lab for penetration testing. And I can tell you, with all of the money that I've spent and all the nights of sleep that I've lost, I wish I had found this resource a lot sooner. But I figured this would be a good chance for me to show you how to set up two machines. One's going to be a Kali Linux machine so that we can create the exploits, the payloads, and everything necessary to target our intentionally vulnerable Linux machine known as Metasploitable. Now, the great thing is that this is completely free to set up all of the resources that you're going to need. It's a complete guide, going everything from information gathering, vulnerability scanning, and every tree just gets deeper, right? There's so much for you to go through that I'm basically ripping the excuse away from you if you ever had one left to learn penetration testing. It's really that in depth, and I'm actually shocked that not many people are talking about this. So this is Metasploit Unleashed. It's a free online ethical hacking course provided by Offensive Security. Here we see that this course is a perfect starting point for information security professionals who want to learn penetration testing and ethical hacking, but are not yet ready to commit to a paid course. So here we go into the introduction. It just walks you through what is MSF, what is the Metasploit framework. It's a collection of exploits. It's also a solid foundation for you to customize to meet your own needs. Now check this out. This allows you to concentrate on your unique target environments and not have to reinvent the wheel. A lot of people call this like script kiddie stuff, but you're gonna learn so much from this video and this setup that you're gonna see that you don't even need Metasploit or even Kali Linux to employ some of the exploits that you're gonna see here coming up. Something that I wanted to show you also is if you don't understand something, you should just self-engage and research on the problem, and there's nothing more satisfying than solving a problem yourself. So we highly encourage you to try harder. Okay, so let's move on to the real stuff, right? So we're gonna go into the requirements for this video. Okay, so we're looking to prepare our lab environments, okay? So here are the hardware requirements. So we have the two machines, right? Of course we have our host machine, right? That's our host machine, the one that I'm sitting at right now. And then we have Kali for the attacking machine, and then we have Metasploitable for our guest machine, okay? So you have Metasploit, the thing that exploits, and then you have the thing that's able to be exploited, Metasploitable, okay? Just making this clear, no dumb questions, right? And let's see. So we're gonna need a hypervisor. This is where it tells us, right? That our recommended hypervisor for best out-of-the-box capability or compatibility with Kali and Metasploitable is VMware Player. Now, VMware Player is free, but it has been discontinued because they have made VMware Workstation Pro available for free for personal use. Okay, so for personal use only. If it's commercial, you gotta pay. But everything we're doing here is for our own personal education. So, we're good. And then with that, I should say everything you see in this video is for educational purposes only. If you do any of these techniques in an environment where you do not have explicit permission, you could face serious legal consequences. So let's see. We need to get this VMware Workstation, okay? So you can just Google VMware Player, right? Here we can see the first result is vmware.com, a hypervisor solution, okay? You're gonna go and click download on that. So we gotta go make an account. So you come here and you'll click register, go do that whole process. It's a little bit annoying, but it's what you gotta do, and I promise you it's worth it. Okay, it's worth it. You can go ahead and log in. All right, so you're gonna be brought to this page called My Downloads. And in the top right search bar, you're gonna put Workstation. And you'll see here, VMware Workstation Pro. Pick the one that works for you. I'm on Windows, and I'll pick the latest release. Now, for me, I'm gonna click download, and it's just gonna download. For you, it's gonna pop you up with another form for you to put your name and then check this box that says, I will not use this software for anything malicious, all that stuff. So you're gonna have to go through that form to get this button enabled, but it is still free, all right? You don't have to put any credit card information or anything like that, okay? I'm gonna just save this to my desktop, and I've already saved mine here, but you're gonna wanna go ahead and save that. Okay, so once you have that downloaded, go ahead and pop open a terminal. And in my case, I have PowerShell, and there you can see, is our VMware Workstation that we've downloaded, okay? We're going to want to get a file hash on that, right? Because it's an executable. You don't want to just trust everything you download. So luckily we have a SHA hash and an MD5 hash that we can check. So we can run a get file hash, and then we'll put in the file and just run it. It's like that simple. And then look, boom, you can see 5E556B7. Nice. Okay, but we want to check the MD5 one also, right? So you can just go back to the previous command and set the algorithm to be MD5. Let's do its thing, and then we compare 6227, 6227, 4E80, 4E80. We are good. We have a valid VMware Workstation Pro installer executable. So let's go ahead and run that with our /. Say yes. Oh yeah. All right, here we are. Yep. Just go through it. Don't uncheck this. Keep everything default, right? Just keep everything default. Push right through. Okay, so it looks like we're done. Let's go ahead and finish that. That's done. We have just finished installing the hypervisor that is going to be the manager for our virtual machines. Let's go ahead and get Kali now. So here is Kali's website, right? And again, just to remind you, I'm literally just following along with the guide that is here provided for you for free. Okay, so we're going to download it, and then we're going to run an apt update and apt upgrade. Okay, here, now this is where you're left with options, and it's not so like hold your hand, right? It's way easier to just download the virtual machines, okay? You're gonna see there's an option for VMware. Go ahead and download that. Put it on your desktop. I've already downloaded mine. So when you're done downloading, you're gonna have this compressed Kali Linux file. Just right click it and extract all, okay? Just extract it straight to the desktop, okay? Mine's already extracted, but you're gonna wanna run through that. It's a pretty timely process for Kali Linux. It's like several gigs. So just be patient, maybe go grab some coffee, right? You also have to download your exploitable machine, okay? So here we can see on our guide that we can download Metasploitable from SourceForge. Now that's really cool. However, I would recommend going directly to Rapid7's website. They sold me when they told me that by downloading Metasploitable from them, I'll be sure to get the latest clean version of the vulnerable machine. So you can just click download here. All right, save that on your desktop. I've already done that. And then you're gonna have this compressed file, right? So you're gonna right click it, extract all. And then you're gonna end up with two folders, Kali and your Metasploitable. So here you can see is the Kali folder that's been extracted. And if this is like your first time, you may be curious and you open it and you see all these files and you kind of have a little stroke. That's totally normal. Just don't worry about it. VMware Workstation is gonna handle all of that stuff for us, okay? So you go to Metasploitable, right? If you're curious to see what you extracted, there's several files. So let's go ahead and pop open now our VMware Workstation Pro. And we're going to click open a virtual machine. Go to your desktop, right? Go into the folder for Metasploitable that you extracted. Load up that first file. Notice that there is only one file for us to select. That's what's super cool about VMware Workstation Pro is it recognizes the file type it needs. Now, before you get too excited and click that green button, I need you to edit the virtual machine settings, okay? You can see that this machine has two network adapters. Yours may be a little bit different, but the chances of you having one or two is definitely there. You're gonna wanna make sure that the first network adapter is set to host only, okay? It's gonna be like a isolated machine, and I'll prove that to you with the pings coming up here shortly. On the second network adapter, we actually don't even need that. So just click on it and then at the bottom, click remove. Okay. Now we have a virtual machine with a single host only network adapter. So let's go ahead and power that on. Just click, I copied it. All right, so while that's running, I want you to open up another instance of VMware Workstation Pro, okay? I know that you can access it here from the tab, but we wanna have separate windows. So on our new instance, okay, so we don't need this home, right? So we have Metasploitable here, right? Let's go ahead and open up our Kali here. So we go to open up a virtual machine, go into your desktop, your Kali Linux folder that you've extracted, and notice that there's only one file for you to select. Super easy. Okay, now before you get too excited and click that green button, make sure you go to your virtual machine settings and check out, you have 2 network adapters. Now this is gonna be good because you have the first one, maybe yours are different, but this is how you want it, okay? The first network adapter should be set to host only. That way, the Kali machine can talk to the Metasploitable machine. Okay, they're both on host only, and I'll show you the subnets that match them up here shortly. On the second network adapter, you're gonna wanna set it to network address translation, or NAT. That way you can access the internet, right? Because you're gonna need to update and upgrade your system. And again, that's not my advice, that is the guide's advice here, okay? So now that we have those set, let me click OK, we can click that green button. All right, and while that's loading, let's go back to our Metasploitable machine, and we are presented with a login. And I've had people ask me when I've showed them Metasploitable before, what's the password? And I'm like, oh, it's so close, right? So you can see, right, it's MSF admin. Cool. All right, now you'll notice that I've clicked into Metasploitable, I've logged in, and now I no longer have a mouse on my screen, right? It's like, watch my hand, like there's no mouse. It says on the bottom, real small, to return to your computer, press Control-Alt. So Control-Alt, and then you get your mouse back. So that tripped me up the first time I started playing around with it, and wanted to just make a note for you on that. Okay, so the machine login credentials are Kali, okay? Just Kali. Now let's check our network connectivity to ensure that everything is set up the way it's supposed to. So we're going to first check our network adapters with ifconfig. You can also do an IPA, right? They give the same results. IPA is pretty cool because it's colored, right? Here we can see that on our host only network adapter, we have an IP address assigned of a 192.168.6.130. Now on our second network adapter, you can see the network address translation has put us in a different subnet on that device, right? But because of network address translation, I'm able to communicate with my private home network. Notice I'm on a .1 subnet, right? And then of course we can access the outside world like Google. Now, if you got a little bit like tripped up and why I even mentioned that, it's okay. We're gonna make that clear right now. Okay, so on Metasploitable, you're gonna also check out your network adapters, and you have this ifconfig, right? And you can see that with the one adapter it's been given, it has assigned an IP address of 192.168.6. Okay, so we have on the first network adapter for our Kali Linux machine a 192.168.6, and then on the subnet for the Metasploitable 192.168.6. So those two can communicate, right? So I can go ahead and communicate with the 130 machine, but I cannot communicate with my private home network, which is on .1. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Can't ping Google, right? And you can't ping my private home network either, okay? So it's alone. The only machine that Metasploitable can communicate with is the Kali Linux machine. And just to verify that it can communicate the other way, right? So from our Kali machine, we will go ahead and ping 128, okay? .6.128. And you can see, we got a ping response back, so they can talk. It was super simple, right? Like you just click some buttons on the settings. Easy, man. Now I'm mentioning these easy wins because you're gonna need them for some of the hacks that are coming up. Some of them can get kind of tough. All right, so I just wanna let you know that you are winning right now, right? Just by doing this setup. So we have successfully gone through the entirety of our requirements, okay? Now, this is where you're gonna be placed at a fork in the road. You have to decide, are you going to start hacking now, which is probably what you want to do, or do you want to read all of this stuff first and then go hacking afterwards? And you're probably going to weave through both, right? Like it's just kind of how it works. You get bored doing this, you run out of knowledge to apply, so you go get some more knowledge, and you get bored getting knowledge, and then you go apply, and it's just like this back and forth until eventually you're just like beaming forward. So here you can see, for more information on the VM configuration, there is a Metasploitable 2 exploitability guide on the Rapid7 website, but beware, there are some spoilers in it. It's okay. You need to start somewhere, right? If you don't know where to start, here is the beginning, okay? So we have completely set up our Kali machine. We've set up our Metasploitable machine. We've verified that they can communicate. Metasploitable can only communicate with Kali, and Kali can communicate with the internet for its update and upgrades. Oh, we forgot to update and upgrade. So let's go over to our Kali Linux machine, and we will do a sudo apt update and a sudo apt upgrade. Okay. Want to make sure that you're following instructions. Okay. It's not too uncommon that the answer is something that you may have just glanced over. Okay. Just say yes. It's going to do its upgrade. It might take some time on that. Okay. So just a heads up there. But while that's going, let's go back to this link that's provided to us, the Metasploitable Exploitability Guide. Let's go ahead and get started. So we already did our if config, right, to find out which IP address that we were targeting. Notice in this example, it's a .99131. And I mentioned that because anytime that you see this number being used in the command, you're just going to replace it with the IP address that's on your Metasploitable machine, okay? Now, this is really where we're going to dive in. So, like, take a deep breath and get ready, because we're actually going to start doing some penetration testing now. So, let's dive right in. Services. From our attack system, Linux, preferably something like Kali Linux, we will identify the open network services on this virtual machine using nmap. The following command line will scan all TCP ports on the Metasploitable 2 instance. And here you can see nmap. They're scanning all ports, all 65,535 of them, to the target machine. And then after the machine was scanned, we see these open services. Okay, so let's start there. On our Kali Linux machine, we're going to run nmap on our target machine of 192.168.6.128. That's mine. Yours may be different, right? So just replace that in with whatever you saw before. Now, I'm not going to be scanning all ports just for this video. I encourage you to, but for me, just making this quicker, and then also we can compare what is the difference in results. So if you don't specify the port, it's just going to do the top 1,000 most popular ports. That's a faster scan, right? Because instead of you scanning 65,000, you're only scanning 1,000. Everyone saves time, but you might miss something if there is something unpopular being used on that system. So let's go ahead and run that nmap command. And here you can see we are presented with all of the open services on our Metasploitable machine. And in case this wasn't clear to you, right, if you turn this machine off, you won't be able to attack it. It needs to stay on. It needs to be online, okay? So keep that running, okay? Keep that running. So let's go ahead and compare our results now. Yeah, that's like the cool stuff, right? So here we can see we have port 21, which is an FTP service. That matches. We have port 22, some Telnet, SMTP, some DNS, HTTP, a whole lot of different ports or services are running on the machine. However, you'll notice that my results are different, right? Like I don't have 55,000. I don't have 44,000 on mine. Mine stops at 8180. That's the reason for that port option, right? If you're like, okay, I see all these ports, what does that mean? And you may feel like, okay, that means I can attack them, right? But there's also kind of like you're asking it as a question. And here's the answer. Nearly every one of these listening services provides a remote entry point to the system. Okay, so pretty exciting, pretty exciting. We're gonna do a few exploits together, and then I'm gonna leave you on your own. Right, you're gonna see that this isn't always so pretty. Here we have Unix basics. TCP ports 512, 513, and 514 are known as R services and have been misconfigured to allow remote access from any host. Oof, that's a heavy sentence, dude. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that, yeah? So we're going to do a sudo r login l root and then my target machine's address. It's running, it's doing something. Oh, and you can see we are now root at Metasploitable. Some of you may be like, that's it? Like, that was it? Yeah, that was it. It was really that easy. This is about as easy as it gets. Okay. The next service we should look at is the network file system. Network file system can be identified by probing port 2049 directly or asking the port mapper for a list of services. The example below uses RPC info to identify NFS and show mount to determine that the root of the file system is being exported. So what this means, right? You may have to kind of like ask ChatGPT to explain this to you. And if that's already where you are, that's like totally cool. This is why you're here. So network file system is like a central place where files can be shared. And if I mount to it, I can write to that file system. And this system is sharing the root of the file system. So let's go ahead and see what we can do to exploit this behavior. All right, so let's come back to Kali and we need to exit, right? That exploit's done. We're done with it. So we can just clear out and we're going to RPC info -p on our target machine. And here we can see that NFS is in fact there, right? So now that we've identified this vector, we can see what file system is mounted to it. So let's show mount -e to the target. And here we have verified that Metasploitable does in fact have the root of the file system exported. So getting access to a system with a writable file system like this is trivial. To do so, and because SSH is running, we will generate a new SSH key on our attacking system, mount the file system export, and add our key to the root user account authorized keys file. So let's run through it. We're gonna do an SSH keygen, all right? Now, I'm gonna just tell you right now, it's not gonna work. And I'm sure you've been in places where you're following the instructions to the T and the code or whatever command you wrote does not work. And I want you to remember at those points to try harder, okay? So we're gonna run through it as if we weren't aware of why this is going to fail. And then we're gonna fix it. And I'm gonna show you how to approach it so that it'll be easier for you to tackle these in the future. So we secure shell keygen, right? Just like it tells us. And we just say, yep, I'm presented with, I already have one, right? So just, yep, no passphrase, into the passphrase again. And it says that I have the public key saved here. Okay, your public key has been saved here, right? And then we're going to run our second command, which is make directory temp root. Okay, so we make directory temp root. Okay, so now we're going to do a mount -t network file system to the target 6.128 in my case, :/ and then we specify the directory that we want our computer to mount to for the file system that's being shared. Okay, so we're specifying where do I want that link to be, okay? And that'll be on the temp root that we just made. All right, I got a fail, but notice that this is running as root and I am running as a regular user, so I might have to sudo that. Boom, and we created symlink, okay? So what we can do is we can open up our key and put it into their files authorized keys list for root, okay? And before I show you that, I actually want to show you like what just happened, okay? Like we just typed these commands, but it may not have clicked for you what we just did. Let's go into temp root, okay? And we haven't put anything in here, right? But we mounted to Metasploitable's root file system. So that means we can see their entire file system and we can write to it also. And you can see that there's only one key in there right now. So anyone who has the private key matching this public key can log in. So let's go ahead and put in another public key that Metasploitable should accept. So we'll go ahead and run this command, copy that over, and we get a permission denied. Okay, well, we know what to do in that situation. We'll just sudo it, and we get another permission denied. So this isn't working, right? But notice, again, on the example that they're running as root, and we've tried to override ourselves as root, but it doesn't seem to be working in this case. So let's try something else. Let's come over to our root terminal emulator. The password is Kali. Okay, so now that we're root, Let's go ahead and create some keys for this because our last set of keys was stored at the home directory of Kali. Okay, so let's SSH keygen. Yep. Okay. We already made our directory for temp root. We already mounted. Now let's try that cat command that we had trouble with last time. Let me go ahead and paste that in. And we have a different error this time. We have no such file or directory. What you mean, bruh? I just made my key right here, right? It's a very subtle difference. This is looking for an RSA public key, and we generated some elliptical curve public key. So now we need to figure out how do we create an RSA key with SSH keygen. So we're going to come over to ChatGPT and we're going to ask, how do I create RSA key with SSH keygen? Boom. Paste that in. Generating public RSA key pair. And notice now our eyes have been opened, right? It actually matches now. SSH ID RSA, SSH ID RSA. All right, so we should be good now, right? So let's go ahead and try and copy that key into the authorized keys list for Metasploitable. And it's saying that we can unmount now, right? We don't need to be connected to the file system anymore because we've already given ourselves access. So let's go ahead and run that unmount. Oh, it's busy. Any ideas why? It's because Kali is still inside of there. You can't unmount something while you're inside of it. So let me CD out of that and let's try that unmount again. Okay, great. So now we can try and connect, right? Right, that's how it feels, right? We just put our key in there. Let's connect to it. So SSH root at 192.168.6.128. Hey, wait a minute. It says that we don't have a matching host key type, but we did. We made an RSA. Well, try harder. So let's go ahead and copy this. Let's copy this error. Let's come in the chat. Let's try to let it know that we're not dumb, right? So I'll say, I made the RSA public key. I put it on the authorized keys list for the SSH server, but still getting this error. All right, and here we learn why. It says modern versions of OpenSSH disable RSA by default due to security reasons. Even if you generated an RSA key, here's how you can fix it. So it looks like we're going to explicitly say to accept RSA public keys. So we'll go ahead and copy that. We'll run it and fingers crossed, right? All right, it's thinking. And check it out. We did it. Root at Metasploitable. Now that one probably felt better than the first one, right? That one was a little bit more challenging. And it wasn't because the exploit was necessarily hard. It's because systems update and documentation sometimes stays behind and we have to try harder to fill that gap. Okay, so that one was cool, right? That one was cool. Let's go ahead and exit out. And we're moving on into backdoors. On port 21, Metasploitable runs VSFTPD, which is Very Secure File Transfer Protocol daemon. This particular version contains a backdoor that was slipped into the source code by an unknown intruder. The backdoor was quickly identified and removed, but not before quite a few people downloaded it. If a username is sent that ends in the sequence happy face, happy face, the backdoored version will open a listening shell on port 6200. We can demonstrate this using Telnet or use our MSF console or our Metasploit framework to automatically exploit it. But that's like, it's just way overkill, right? We don't need to use Metasploit for this. We can simply just use Telnet. So let's come back. I'm tired of playing as root. Let's come back to Kali. Let's see what we can do with it. Clear out. And let's Telnet to our target of 192.168.6.128. We'll connect to the port of 21. Okay. Notice that that is matching the port that we saw during our initial scan, right? Just reminding you where we came from, right? We scanned the services first, find the attack vectors first, and then get to work. So we're just moving on to the next vector. So we're telnetting into the target machine on port 21. And you can see that the banner is showing that this is in fact an FTP server, right? Now let's continue on. We're gonna make user, please subscribe, happy face. Specify the password, pass, no for real, subscribe. And then we'll do a control square bracket, quit, and you are left with a lot of disbelief in how easy that was. Because now that you've sent over the happy face payload, you can telnet into the back door that's been opened from it. So instead of port 21, we go into the back through port 6200. It looks the same as before, except now when you look at your current user ID, your root, and if you want even more evidence of it, check out your if config and notice that you are in fact connected as 128 or the Metasploitable machine. All right, notice in all of this, we haven't touched any Metasploit, but I want to make sure that we touch on it. So we're going to do this last exploit together, and then I'm going to leave you with some closing words, and you'll go tell all your friends, and we'll have a good time together. So on port 6667, Metasploitable runs the Unreal IRC daemon. This version contains a backdoor that went unnoticed for months, triggered by sending the letters AB followed by a system command to the server on any listening port. Metasploit has a module to exploit this in order to gain an interactive shell as shown below. All right, so let's come over. I'm gonna clear this out. Well, first I need to exit, right? So let me just, how do I exit? Quit. Oh yeah, that's right. It's control square bracket. See, even I forget, dude. All right, quit. Okay, cool. All right, so let's clear out of that. We're gonna run our MSF console. Okay, we saw on our second exploit that things aren't always pretty, right? Sometimes there's like updates or changes in the docs or how we do things, but the whole process is the same essentially, right? You're following some procedure, just the details in between can get a little bit funky sometimes. And this is going to be one of those instances, and you should really consider that if you want to know Metasploit, you're probably going to have to read this guide. And we're going to run this use exploit command. Let's run that. Oh, I didn't even give like a proper introduction to the most epic exploit framework. Yeah, this is Metasploit. I just know that you've probably seen so many videos on this stuff and you're still searching for more. And I think that these guides are where you're going to find it. Okay, so let's see. Looks like I just had to, it looks like I got hung up for a little bit, but it's good now. Let me clear out. You can see that we're using the exploit that has been specified here in our guide. We're going to run a set R host, right? You're going to set remote host to the target, my 128. And it says all I got to do is run exploit. But we get an error. Okay, exploit failed. A payload has not been selected. Exploit completed. No session was created. Well, I guess we gotta try harder, yeah? So going back to the source of what got us here, we have our Metasploit unleashed, ready to save us once again. Now the next section that you're gonna jump into will be the Metasploit architecture. I think it's a little bit out of scope for this video, but I do recommend that you go read everything. Even if you don't feel like it's applicable to you, you're still building that practice of being thorough. But once you run through that, it won't take much time. You're going to be thrown into your Metasploit fundamentals. And you're going to read through this. Notice that we left the first road now, right? We're done hacking. We need to kind of brush up on some knowledge. All right, so you're going to want to read through that. Just make sure you're thorough. Move on to MSF console. Read through that, right? And then eventually you're going to get to the point to where you're in exploits, okay? We see the same syntax that we saw before. Use exploit, whatever you're looking to select. And then here we can see there is a set payload. Huh, okay, so we were missing a payload, so maybe we need to set a payload. What else is in here? Using exploits, okay. So we have a use, we have a show targets. Oh, look, show payloads. Okay, so let's try that. So let's come to Kali, right? Let's do show payloads. And here you can see there's 12 options for us, okay? You may be like, which one do I use? Well, let's see. So let's show payloads, make it a little clearer for me. Looks like the first option is going to add user. I don't want that. But the second one will give me a command shell. And then that'll be through a bind TCP via Perl. Okay, well, let's go ahead and use that. So I will set payload, and you can actually just set the number, right? Boom. Okay, so let's go ahead and exploit again. Oh snap. Command shell session 1 opened on port 4444. Coming back to my guide just so we can compare output. Looks a little different, but hey man, I got that shell open, so let's see what we can do. Can I ID? And I am root. If config 128. And check it out. There's still so much more you can go through just here. Another really cool thing about Metasploitable is they even have vulnerable web services. This one here contains all the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities. And they even have a hint that you can toggle for all of them. But it includes everything: SQL injection, cross-site scripting, cross-site request forgery, all that stuff is there, dude. It even has the DVWA, the Dang Vulnerable Web Application. It's a really great resource. Forewarning though, there is a couple of like little bugs that Metasploitable has launching these vulnerable web services. Let's see how to get there, right? Well, first of all, when we did our nmap, when we did that nmap on the target, we see that HTTP is open. So there's no web service going on there. So very simple, right? You just pop open a browser and we're going to connect to the target machine, 192.168.6.128. And there's your web services, yeah? Here's our DVWA. It's admin password. That's in the guide, right? Like everything that I've provided to you here today has come from these guides in some way. The error that I was mentioning before is over here. You'll notice that if you go over to one of the pages, like the add to your blog page, which is specified here. Again, it's just the first example. There's an error. And it may look normal because it's like you're expecting things to be broken, but no, like this error is actually legit, and you need to Google it to fix it, and then this web service will act like it's supposed to. But there's so much more you can learn before you even get to the web app hacking stuff, right? We touched on the misconfigured R service. We added our own SSH keys with a little bit of a tackle here and there. We messed around with Telnet, and it's all free, guys. It's all here. It's all free. I know I sound like a broken record, but I really think that there's a lot of value here. And I think that if you just made it a goal to go through these modules, like just a few every week, obviously the more the merrier, right? But it's a whole roadmap. Seriously. Some of the exploits that I've seen being mentioned here, I've seen in paid content, no names, right? But I'm just letting you know, like, there's some really good stuff here. And if you don't get it right away, just remember to try harder. And let me know in the comments below. Maybe if this video gets enough traction and people like it enough, maybe we can make like a series, or we can request like different modules and we can go through them together. But in any way, I hope you had a wonderful time. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you next time.